he was married into such a big family. He didn't know that his mother-in-law was going to be such a, oh, well, you know how mother-in-laws are sometimes. This
Careful.
was just a typical kind of
mother-in-law. She was always telling people what to do. She knew better than anybody how to do everything. Why, she told
her postman what time he better get to her mailbox. She thought that the mail should be delivered at least by 12 o'clock. And if he couldn't accomplish that, there was something terribly wrong with him, because she knew that he needed to be back to the office before it got really hot. And she was midway on his route, because she had tracked every move he made. And she knew what a good postman should do. So she was very sure of herself. But one day she walked out the front door and she saw a letter laying on the pavement. And she thought,
well, that postman's being awfully careless to drop a letter on the pavement. I wonder if it belongs here to us at this address. So she went out to the sidewalk, she picked it up, she looked at it, and indeed it was actually not, it was almost her address. There was one number different, and she realized it was the house across the street. You know, the even were on one side and the odd numbers were on the other. So it was a house across the street. She didn't know those people very well. They had only moved in a month or two ago. And so she didn't know what to do except just to go across the street and knock on the door and offer the letter to them. So she did. She walked across the street, she knocked on the door, and then
a woman opened the door. A woman about her age, but very, very beautiful. The woman smiled. She handed her the envelope, and the woman tore it open at once and said, "Oh, I've been waiting so much. Listen, you must come with me. I'm going to be on a television program for the most beautiful mother-in-law of the year. And you're very good looking. You could be on it too." Well, now, the mean, nasty mother-in-law thought a long time about that. What would her family think if she were to be in a competition for the mother-in-law of the year? So she decided to go ask that boy. And when she did, he said,
"Mom, why would you want to do something like that? You know, people are kind of critical about you being so pushy. You really want to go on television and come off like yourself? Maybe that's not such a good idea. Think about it for a minute before you do. But do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. You know how I tell you, don't push me around. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. Whatever you want to do. If you want to go with that new neighbor to the show, go and we'll all watch you." So she decided she would. Spruced herself up to get ready to go so she looked a little nicer for the cameras, and decided, oh, the next thing I better watch is my mouth. And so off they went with her planning how she could come off as a kind and sweet mother-in-law. And then,
well, of course, John arranged for the whole family to go and watch her when they were there. I mean, if his mother-in-law is going to be on this big show and might have a chance of winning, although he didn't really believe it, if she might have a chance of winning, he wanted to be there, and he wanted his wife to be there, and he wanted their kids to be there, and he wanted the whole big family to be there, and it was a big family. And so he got tickets. He got tickets for everyone. And on the big day, they all headed down together in the family van with his mother-in-law's car behind, just driving with her husband so she could think over and plan and get ready all on her own. They all headed down to the studio together. And when they got there,
when they got there, there was a big crowd of people come to see who all was going to be in the contest. And so they finally filed into the auditorium and got everybody settled. They took up a whole section. There were so many of them. And finally, everything quieted down, and the mother-in-laws who were competing came out on the stage along with the MC. And the MC said, now
we have the top mother-in-laws in this state, and we would like to see some talent displayed. And so he pointed to this particular mother-in-law of John's. And he said, what is your talent? And she said,
I had a whole different line.
You can't do that. You just
Well, when I was young, I had some really flashy gold lame shoes with 2.5-inch heels. And I tap dance. I could tap dance. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tap dance. Now, mind you, she had not tap danced in 20 years, but that's what she was going to do. So luckily, they had an accompanist there. They had somebody on the piano who could just, pick up anything you wanted like that. And so she gave him a number to start playing. It was like, what was it? It was like Chattanooga Choo Choo. And so he started playing the Chattanooga Choo Choo, and she started dancing. And actually, she wasn't half bad. But as she was dancing, she got a little bit close to the end of the stage. Unknowingly, it was quite a drop, at least 4 feet from the edge of the stage to the floor. And as she was dancing really close to the edge of the stage, and everybody was clapping and yelling for her, what happened?
The heel of her shoe broke. Ah, now she just barely managed to stay on the stage. But boy, was she angry. She turned around and she said to her son-in-law, "Why did you bring these rotten shoes for me? How often do I have to tell you, pay more attention to the instructions that I give you? I'm trying to help a family do very well, and you don't cooperate." Now the MC, he spoke up and he said, "Now that sounds like a mother-in-law." And so,
As they continued with the concert, all of the others were asked to do something, and they did. And although their acts were not all that terrific, when they were finished, they were sweet and pleasant and nice, and a real big contrast to the mother-in-law of poor old John. John was kind of mortified. There she had been up on that stage, shrieking at him the way she always did, only this time in front of national TV. And then he said,
well, Mom, I think you won. And the MC came over and he said, "Ma'am, you are the most unpleasant, typical, hard to get along with, ornery mother-in-law that we've ever had on this show. Not only are we giving you the first prize today, but we're inviting you back for the grand prize competition in 6 weeks, when you will compete with all other mother-in-laws who have won the first round. And with your orneriness and mother-in-lawness, I think you got a great chance of winning."